Alright, so I have my compound interest formula down here. My P is my principal, that's how much money I'm starting with. My R is my rate, I want to move that decimal over 2 places. 4 is the number of times per year that it's going to be compounded quarterly, it means 4. And I'm going to do my N times T, and my T is, in this case, part A would be 4 years, so I'm going 4 times 4. And if I wanted to do part B, I would do where T is 6, and part C is T is 8. You can compare those, how much money you would have. So if you can really, a lot of you have jobs right now, if you can take that money that you're earning, set aside, and you want to have fun with some of it, but if you could set aside just a little bit out of every paycheck, start a savings account, you would be amazed at when you finally get out of college, you're going to have this nice little chunk of money sitting there for you, okay? And trust me, you want that, okay? So I'm going to do 4,000 times all of this. You can just type that right in your calculator. Just put parentheses around this part, so 1 plus. Make sure you get down these calculator strokes because a lot of times this is where the mistakes happen. It's a shame to miss just something just because you typed it in wrong. I'm going to write down the whole thing just for the sake of showing you what number that is. And then I can type all of this into my calculator. So I've got 4,000 times this decimal. And you could really type this in all at once. It's just personal preference. And I'm going to get 5,026 and some change. Pretty nice. I mean, that's a little over $1,000, and all I did was not touch it. I just let that money sit there, and it accrued over $1,000 worth of interest. Okay, and just think, if you keep adding more and adding more, then you're going to get more. All right, so let's talk about transformations because this is something we constantly are working on, and hopefully you're seeing that the rules are always the same. They never change. So I just want to show you what each one would look like really quickly. So if you want to move something left, all you have to do is add inside of the function. So if I want to move it to the left 3, it would look like this. If I want to move it to the right, I would just subtract. If you want to move something up versus moving something down. Okay, so if we have those rules down, you can see the difference between where I'm putting that plus or minus 3. If you want to flip something across the x-axis, we're going to make the whole function negative. If I'm going to reflect something across y, I just make the x negative. And then we come to our stretching and shrinking. And I'm not too worried about this because this stuff right here is really what's going to affect your domain and range. Okay, so the rules for stretching something vertically is you want your a to be greater than 1. If you want to shrink something, then your a needs to be less than 1, but equal to or greater than 0. So shrinking less than 1, greater than 0. Okay. That's true for vertical, and then for horizontal, it's flip-flopped. So my stretch has that rule, and my shrink has this rule. Just a matter of where you put it. So if I have 2 to the x and I want to stretch it vertically, I'm going to multiply it by a number out front that's bigger than 1. If I want to shrink it, I'm going to put a number out front that's a fraction. For a horizontal stretch, you're going to be putting the number inside of the function. Horizontal shrink, again, the number inside of the function. So just to show you what all those look like, I'm going to skip these examples. You're going to do some in the book. The only thing I would make sure is stuff like this, where the order's flipped around, maybe just write it like that. So now what I want you to do is work on your 4.1 bookwork. There's not a whole lot of problems here. So try those. If you want to assign yourself more, that would be a great idea. Or if you want to go to Khan Academy and look up exponential functions, that would be awesome as well. I'm going to go ahead and start us with 4.2 next, because 4.2 and 4.1 are really the same thing. This is talking about a very specific exponential function. And I have another video for you that I'm going to let you watch.
To its diameter. But there's a less famous, but equally fundamental number known to anyone who's taken high school algebra. It's about 2.718281828459045, and so on. And it was first defined by Jacob Bernoulli, but later Leonhard Euler called it E, and the name stuck. Bernoulli first defined E through compound interest. Now, compound interest says that you get a little bit of money in interest every period, and that money you gained helps you gain even more interest next period. In other words, your interest compounds. So, if you stick $1 into a bank account with a 100% interest rate compounded annually, you'll get $2 at the end of the year. If it's compounded semi-annually, you'll end up with $2.25. Quarterly, and you'll end up with $2.44. Monthly, $2.61. Weekly, $2.69. See where we're going? If you increase the number of compounding periods a year towards infinity, then you'll get closer and closer to E dollars. In statistics, it describes the most important statistical distribution, the normal. In biology, it models populations of species through the logistic function. In physics, E describes the exponential decay of a radioactive material. So, while E may not be as famous as pi, it's easily as fundamental and immensely important.
The number pi is equal to 3.
Okay, so what we can summarize from that video is, just like how pi is approximately 3.14, E is an approximation as well, and just like pi, this number was popping up all the time. And you may have recognized the name Euler, because he's also the one that discovered those imaginary numbers. So these guys way back in the day, they noticed, hey, these numbers keep popping up over and over again, so we're just going to call them something. So your transformation rules are the same for this as they are with just a number. So think about, if we know what 2 to the x looks like, and we know what 3 to the x looks like, E is somewhere in between there. It's 2.7. So if 2 to the x is an exponential function like this, 3 to the x is just going to grow a little quicker, and e to the x is just somewhere in between there, okay, closer to the 3. That's really all it is. E is just a number. And I used to have a calculus professor that would say that all the time. E is just a number. Because if you're going on to calc, you're going to see E a lot. And if you're anything like me, it will confuse you. But it's nothing to get stressed about. E is just a number. Okay, so just act like you know this is 1 minus 3 to the x. Again, I could flip these around. Negative e to the x plus 1. What's happening? I have a reflection across the x-axis. And I'm going up 1. Okay, so if you look at this one, I've got a reflection across x, but also across y. These are the same rules that we've been talking about. And this is why I'm going to go ahead and cover this section because it fits right in with what we're already doing. I'll do one more for you where we're moving to the right 3 and up 4. Okay? So at this point, we've been talking about a lot of different functions. We had linear and quadratic and all those that you will learn about in Algebra 2, and then we started talking more about the rational function recently, and now we're just adding some more functions into that mix, exponential, and eventually we'll do logarithmic, and eventually we'll do trig functions, okay? So what I want to do is look at a couple of word problems that have E in it, just so that you feel comfortable working with it, and then that's really all we're going to do with it. So this is an equation that represents a drug that was administered to a patient. We don't have to figure that out. All you have to do is know where to find E on the calculator and know where to plug in this number. So T is your time. So I'm going to type in 50 times e to the negative 0.2 times 3. Okay, and if you want, you put this all in parentheses. So take a second on your calculator and make sure that you're able to find the E button. and type this in. If you need help, let me know. And when I type all of that in, I get approximately 27.44. And that's milligrams, how many milligrams are remaining, okay? What would the initial amount have been after 0 hours? Well, if you plug 0 in here, you're just going to get e to the 0, and that's 1. So the initial amount is 50. So that's how much the patient took. And so after 3 hours, this drug is almost halfway out of their system. Okay, so here's another word problem. Doctors use a radioactive iodine as a tracer in diagnosing certain thyroid gland disorders. T is your number of days. So after 0 days, like when you initially take this is what we were just talking about, what's going to happen is you're going to get e to the 0, and e to the 0 is 1. So 6 times 1 is 6. That's going to be our initial amount. That's what the patient took. Okay. After 20 days, just plug in 20. So really, all we're doing is evaluating. It's just with kind of a new function that maybe you haven't worked with a whole lot. Eventually, what we'll do is I'll present a more important situation, like trying to figure out how many days it will take to get that drug out of my system, or how many hours. And that's really more what we're worried about. And so I'll show you how to work backwards. So when I plug in 20, I got 1.053, something like that. So that's what would be left in there after 20 days. Okay, so this is what I assigned for 4.1, and here's the practice for 4.2. Okay, so it's all about exponential functions. E is just another exponential function. It's just a very specific exponential function. Okay, so before I say exponential function one more time, I'm going to wrap up this video. So good luck and let me know if you need help.